Making its debut in New York City for the very first time, the UFC is bringing with it a magnificent card with huge matchups right from the very first bell. In this show, we take a look at the opening two fights of that main card. Miesha Tate, back on the hunt for another crack at the women's bantamweight title, takes on Raquel Pennington, herself looking for a route to the upper echelons of the division. And Kelvin Gastelum and Donald Cerrone promise fireworks as they go head-to-head with both fighters having one eye on the welterweight crown. OK, Dan, let's start off with the women's bantamweight matchup then. Former UFC title challenger and champion.
Yes.
Miesha Tate.
Yes. A great fight, really exciting. Slight height and reach advantage for Raquel Pennington here. But the main advantage, obviously, as well as the championship experience, is the additional 10 fights that she's had. You know, the Ronda Rousey fights, the Holly Holm fight. The Holly Holm fight was absolutely spectacular. You know, she has a lot of momentum behind her that was halted by Amanda Nunes when she lost her belt. It's going to be interesting to see how she rebounds from that. And she's actually, in my opinion, risking quite a lot in this fight. You know, being the #1 contender as she is at the moment, risking it against the #8 contender. You know, a real good opportunity for Raquel Pennington to jump right up onto the card. And that's one of these situations that the New York card has created. You know, some fighters will they'll fight anybody just to be a part of this amazing experience. And I think that Raquel Pennington's found herself in a very fortuitous position to be fighting the #1 contender.
Yeah, well, she was the third pick on Team Tate on The Ultimate Fighter. And Miesha Tate, I mean, if you ever listen to her interview, she's so respectful. She really is. And is quite happy that Raquel Pennington's been given this opportunity because she feels like she's done some really good work and has got some good momentum as well.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at Cupcake Tate then. And we've looked at her before here at Inside the Octagon. What differences have you picked out for this one?
Well, the slight advantage that I would give to Miesha Tate in the wrestling, I give to Raquel Pennington in the boxing. So they're quite evenly matched in a lot of ways, other than the experience for Miesha Tate.
Yeah.
I feel like they are quite evenly matched. It's all about who can employ their game plan. Now, with Miesha Tate, we know that she's going to try and crowd her opponent and work that takedown immediately. If she can employ this wrestling game and stay away from the boxing of Raquel Pennington, this is where she's going to be at her best advantage. And she got great experience against Holly Holm, a world-class boxer, one of the best female boxers ever, and was able to stay in this fight and wear her down and pace herself and pick this opportunity right at the end. I mean, 90 seconds left in the fight. She gets this rear naked choke locked up and she was never going to let go of that. It was her opportunity to get that UFC belt around her waist. And now to have had that and to have lost it and to see Amanda Nunes with the belt and now obviously Ronda Rousey's back in the picture as well, it's really got to light a fire under Miesha Tate and get a really impressive performance here against Raquel Pennington, just to stay relevant in this, you know, always fluctuating division. Yeah,
a lot's been going on in Miesha Tate's life as well, including saving a young child in the hills or a mountain of Vegas as well. That's quite something. She spent some time out in Thailand as well, which will play quite nicely into the boxing ranges of Raquel Pennington, who you are going to show us now.
Yes, yeah, Raquel Pennington, a person, in my opinion, who has very underestimated wrestling. We've seen her use it quite a lot in some of her fights. This really nice bulldog choke that she got here, the old schoolyard headlock, a la Carlos Newton and Pat Miletich. Really nice finish there. But again, with the wrestling, so she does have the wrestling. She does have she's strong. She's physically imposing. She does have this game, but whether she can employ it against Miesha Tate is the question. I think that she'd be much more. It'd be a much smarter investment to use that wrestling ability to try and keep this fight standing and force Miesha Tate into a boxing match. Now, we know that Miesha Tate has that championship experience. It's also worth noting that she's got Rob Follis in her corner, who is the original coach at the old Team Quest, back when all of the stars were there in Oregon. So that's a real strong voice in the corner. She's also got Jimmy Gifford, who's a great boxing coach. So if there's anybody that's going to be able to deconstruct Raquel Pennington, it's these two guys that are in her corner. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic. She really needs an impressive win here within the distance if she's going to be considered for a title shot very soon.
But outside of technical abilities, one thing for sure, something that you apparently can't train, is Miesha Tate's heart.
Yeah.
She keeps on going. She knows what it takes. So we're going to get a fight out of her for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Neither of these ladies are going to back down. Raquel Pennington is equally as gritty and got that bulldog mentality where she will stand and trade if needs be. It's a case of knowing when she needs to cut off and move her feet to avoid getting taken down. That's when the fight IQ comes into play, and that's when Miesha Tate has the advantage with those extra 10 fights.
This could be a real dogfight between these two.
It's going to be a great fight. It
Yeah.
really is. It's going to be a great fight. I'm struggling to lean, obviously, with the experience. Miesha Tate is probably the safer bet. But Raquel Pennington's been underestimated all the way through her career. She's got great boxing. She's got good wrestling. She's tenacious.
Yeah.
You know? She's on a roll. She's had an up-and-down career, but she knows she's been in there with some of the best. This is her opportunity to really kind of flourish and show everybody what she's capable of.
Yeah, I see this coming in and out of the trenches, this one. This could be a really exciting fight. And another exciting fight that we're going to have a look at now is between Gastelum and Cerrone. You've been really excited about
really
this
excited
one.
about
I mean,
this one.
it's great. It really is a fantastic matchup, and Cerrone's looked fantastic since he's come up to welterweight. But Gastelum is just one of the most promising young fighters in the UFC. With King's MMA as well, he's been doing some stuff with Eddie Bravo, so he'll keep on adding to his game. I'm always excited to see the next version.
Yeah. I always enjoy Gastelum's fights. He fights like a young man with a lot of confidence, like he can't be beaten. You know,
Yeah.
even in fights where he's been caught, he's been clipped, he's able to maintain that momentum, which is going to need slight height and reach advantage for Cowboy. So it's going to take Gastelum getting inside and making this a bit of a gritty fight, an uncomfortable fight for Cowboy. We've seen him in previous fights, further back into his career, we've seen him struggle with guys that get in the pocket and start to rough him up. Guys that work his body. He's been stopped twice with shots to the body, so that's something else that Gastelum's got to be thinking about. But again, with these two, it's all about the experience for Cowboy, and he's 22 fights in the UFC, 30 if you include his WEC fights.
Right.
Plus he's got 28 kickboxing matches with 18 knockouts. You know. And there's so much to say about
performance bonuses as well.
I think 12. Yeah,
he's got a lot.
I mean, he's such a talented fighter, and everybody looks at Cowboy and says, "Oh, he's a Thai boxer, he's a kickboxer."
Yeah,
but he's actually got a lot more submissions on his record.
Yes.
I think he's got 10 triangles, 5 rear naked chokes, something like that. So Gastelum closing that range is not going to be enough. He needs to maintain that distance. Yeah, you can rough him up and you can take him down and beat him up on the floor, but there's a new skill set that he's got to think about when it hits the floor.
OK, well, let's take a look at Gastelum now, then.
OK. Like I said, he fights like a young man with confidence that's not been punished in any way, and I like that. And I think with his attributes and with his skills, it's important for him to have that confidence, because a lot of these techniques that he gets to work, there's an element of bullishness to it. It's not necessarily as clean and as tidy as something that Cerrone would do. But he makes it work with his tenacity and with his aggression. As you can see here, the things that he did well against Neil Magny, he's going to have to use against Cowboy because of the height advantage that Cowboy's got, the reach advantage. If he stays on the outside, Cowboy's going to pick him off all day until he steps in and starts working those knees. And then, like I said, if it gets down to the ground, he's got to be very aware at the positioning of Cowboy's hips and not allowing him to, certainly not allowing him to scramble and take his back, because Cowboy's got a great rear naked choke. But even if he is in the guard working his ground and pound, that triangle for Cowboy is money. It's a very dangerous technique that he's got to be aware of.
So working with Eddie Bravo, the guys at 10th Planet, and also King's MMA, he's going to have a lot of those bases covered.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
I was on the mat at Eddie Bravo's a little while ago, and every single guy on the mat has something different to offer.
Right.
You know, I mean, I went through, I think, 6 of his black belts, and every one subbed me with a whole bunch of different things. Like, to the point where I'm asking them, so what was that you caught me with making notes, you know? And it's a very creative environment as well. You also see Tony Ferguson's brought Eddie Bravo into his camp to help him out as well. I just think there's an enthusiasm that Eddie Bravo and the 10th Planet guys bring that a lot of these guys, they like to step in, like Ben Saunders, steps in there, works with these guys for a bit, feels inspired, and then goes away and works with their team. I certainly felt that when I trained there, and I see these young guys really thriving on that environment.
OK. Well, we got some stuff from Twitter. Thank you to everyone that sent their stuff in. Let's have a look at what UFC and tough vet Luke Barnett has got to say. He's a friend of Kelvin Gastelum. Thank you, Luke. Due to the range of Cerrone and his excellent BJJ skills off his back, how do you think Kelvin should approach the fight?
Thanks for the question, Luke. I hope you're doing well. I know you're out in Spain working hard on your skills. It's a good question. Just like we've been talking about, Cowboy is dangerous at several different ranges. So Kelvin Gastelum has to, A, keep the fight moving, stay aggressive, keep a pace on him, keep beating him up no matter where the fight goes, but also be cerebral enough to know when Cerrone's starting to set something up. If he starts to feel him creeping up with a triangle, get out, get back to his feet, work a second takedown, continue to dominate the fight at every range without taking unnecessary risks. Because when you're fighting Cowboy, there are risks in every range. Well, let's have a look at his playlist. Cowboy's one of my favourite fighters to watch. You always know that you're going to get an exciting fight with him. And as we said before, his ground game is really, really underestimated. I mean, even when you say Cowboy to me, in my head I picture a kickboxing match.
Yes.
But a lot of the time, the kickboxing match leads to these situations where he's catching people in beautiful submissions. The right high kick is something that Gastelum's got to watch out for as well, because that is going to be something that he's going to be throwing constantly. And the combination he put together against Rick Story was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
2 short punches, setting up the head kick. And Rick Story does not go down easily. No. He's a very gritty fighter that uses a lot of forward momentum and a lot of wrestling to get the fights won. So that was a good preparatory fight for Gastelum, in my opinion. I think Gastelum's slightly bigger, slightly stronger, probably slightly better athlete, given the fact that he's a bit younger than Rick Story. So there are new problems that Cowboy's going to facing Gastelum. But he has all the tools in all of these ranges, and with his experience and with the gym that he comes out of with Jackson Wink, he's got a whole selection of guys to work with that can effectively build a game plan for Gastelum perfectly.
And interestingly, he's also got his offshoot, his ranch. Yeah. And he's had Tim Kennedy down, who I think is quite an interesting person to have outside of the guys at Jackson Wink, but with that ridiculously strong wrestling style, which Gastelum can employ as well. That's going to be a nice addition to his...
And a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We always forget about that with Tim Kennedy. You know, I think it's a Royler Gracie black belt. So, you know...
Legit.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah.
Legit, yeah.
OK, well, let's take a look at the main card then. This is mouth-watering stuff. Kicking off with Miesha Tate and Raquel Pennington, all the way through up to Weidman Romero, which we have in another Inside the Octagon. And then the 3 title bouts. Again, we have shows for these. Excited to share those with you. So they should be in the comments below where you can get links to those.
It's crazy to think we could have 3 new champions on one night. That's crazy.
That'll shake it up.
It would. I mean, some of these divisions have been switching. The lightweight, welterweight divisions have been handing the belt around. Joanna's been strong in that division. She took the belt off Carla Esparza and has held it since. It'd be nice to see Carolina switch it up again, but all these are pick-em fights. I mean, any one of these contenders could win. That's the beauty of mixed martial arts.
Absolutely. Well, that's all from us as the clock counts down to the first bell in historic Madison Square Garden. Make sure to check out all our other shows in the build-up to UFC 205. Get involved in the comments section below and remember to be part of the conversation by tweeting at UFC Europe using the hashtag InsideTheOctagon. From us, it's goodbye for now.
Welcome to the Empire State. Stand up. I'm a BK brother. Madison Square, catch me at the fight.
Conor McGregor!
Sensational. From New York City, right, Cam?
You're damn right.
Big shot!